Welcome to the Writer's Bridge. It is so lovely to have you tonight, and we are so glad that you have found your way to us despite not getting the reminder email. Sorry about that. And today we're going to talk about using the platform you already have. Couple of things before we begin. Ashley is booking one-on-one coaching for 2022, and you might want to email her if you are interested in personal social media coaching for whichever platform you are trying to build. I am leading a 5-day virtual intensive in January called Rebirth Your Writing, Memoir Large and Small. That's 5 days near the end of January, and it is a live virtual retreat that I'm co-hosting with Dinty W. Moore. And as always, this is the Writer's Bridge, because a platform is a thing you stand up on and yell at people from, and a bridge is a two-way street where you are talking to your readers and your readers are talking to you. Ashley, anything you want to add to the beginning?
I'm going to mute everyone. So Allison, if you could unmute yourself, that would be great.
Awesome.
And welcome everyone.
And go ahead and type in the chat where you're coming in from. We are so glad to have you. We have a question of the week. And the question of the week, Lisa asks, can I get my book, which is an award-winning poetry collection from a small press in Canada, sold in US bookstores if my press doesn't have a US distributor? So this is kind of a tricky question. The first thing Lisa needs to do is talk to her press and find out, did she sell them her North American rights or her world English rights, or did she just sell them the Canadian rights? And this is something that you might want to think about as you end up doing your own deals with publishers, whether they are large or small publishers. It is often possible to sell just North American rights and you retain your rights for the rest of the world in English, which can be sold again later to a different publisher. So for example, my book, 7 Drafts, is only available in North America right now. If you are in Australia or the UK, the book is not available because I did not sell my publisher those rights. And I'm hoping that a publisher there will help. The question Lisa then needs to ask her press is, if the reader requests the book through a US bookstore, can they order it? Will they order it? Is her press willing to either set up an account with the distributors called Ingram or let her self-publish it as an American book through the distributors called Ingram? Or, sorry, Lisa, you're kind of screwed, because without a US distributor, it's very difficult for your book to show up in a US bookstore. And Matt from Woodhall points out, Canadian rights are sometimes lumped in with UK, Australia, New Zealand, British Commonwealth. Read your contract carefully. And this is a really great reason to work with an agent and or to join the Writers Guild, which has a relatively reasonable membership fee. I want to say it's like $125 a year. And one of the things they provide is, if you don't have an agent, they will review your contract for you and point out any issues that they see. It's a really incredibly valuable service. Yeah, sorry, Barbara, the Authors Guild. Thanks for correcting me. I said that incorrectly. So yeah. Ashley, what are we talking about tonight?
Today we are talking about how to explain the platform you already have, how to explain it, but first, how to identify it. A lot of us think, I need to build platform, and we forget, we think that platform is something new that we have to create from scratch, but we have connections just as a matter of being a human on Earth who interacts with other humans. Our subjects of study, our subjects of interest, where we have worked, the connections that we make, and the things that are important to us build a network and a platform all around us. And today we're going to be talking about how to identify that and then how to frame that either in your bio or a query letter or a proposal.
And the reason that we came up with this topic today was because I heard from an author who got turned down because an agent said, oh, I like your book, but you have no platform. And I looked at the author's website just out of curiosity. And I was like, okay, I have no idea who this author is or what she does. Her website is not telling me anything other than she likes knitting and she has 2 dogs. And she thought that being on Twitter, being on Insta counted as platform, but 400 followers, unfortunately, does not really count as platform, which I say with great love in my heart. And you may have seen my depressing brevity blog about how many followers agents think you actually need to get a book deal based on platform. But even a small platform can sell your book if it's presented well. You can build your platform by writing National Book Award level prose. You can build your platform with your organization, your interest-based, your social media connections. You can build your platform with some of each of those. You just can't build your platform by not working on any of those. So this does not mean that we have to have 50,000 followers. This means that the writer with the very small following needs to reposition herself as a writer first. It needs to be clear on her website what she's talking about and who she's talking to. Now, you still kind of got to work on the writing, even if you're going to focus on social platform, because as much hassle and effort as building platform feels like, that is also how much work we all have to put into writing better. We can take classes, we can take workshops, we can educate ourselves, we can join writing groups with writers we believe are better than ourselves. We can start publishing short pieces. But the really, really depressing part is that it is actually easier to sell a book on platform than it is to sell a book on beautiful writing, because it's really hard to be that good a writer. And not only do you have to be that good, you have to hit the exact right kind of agent who wants that kind of good on that day. And so that can be really, really challenging. Most of the challenge too is that when we're worried too much about platform, we don't spend that time making our writing absolutely incredible. We don't spend that time looking up other authors, researching their education, researching where they published. Ashley, what do you want to add in here?
So it is depressing or really uplifting, depending on how you look at it, right? For me, I don't think becoming an amazing writer is necessarily takes a different amount of time than becoming somebody who has a really engaged audience and builds your own platform. It depends on your own talents and strengths. We all need to have, it's like a slide, it's a continuum, right? If we are like National Book Award potential writers, the amount of platform we need is different. Most of us fall somewhere in the middle. So figuring out how to make the writing better and also platform makes us someone who then can help an agent do their job, can help an editor do their job in figuring out what kind of people want to read the kinds of things that this writer writes about.
And I think too, we forget that platform is not 50,000 followers. Platform is people buy books because either they've heard of the author or they're passionately interested in the topic or the genre if you're writing fiction. And so a lot of quote unquote platform is getting your name out there and positioning your book in such a way that it appeals to the people who are really into your topic. Stephanie points out in the chat, she sold her migraine book with a smallish platform based on the strength of her proposal. Hey, Stephanie, you want to unmute for a second and tell us what kind of stuff did you put in your proposal that made it really clear there are people who would like to buy this book?
So I had a whole section on audience and how I was going to reach migraine patients. I looked at Facebook groups that served migraine folks. I had a marketing section, so it was clear that I knew how to market a book. I had all these food bloggers who were going to be willing to either give blurbs or do posts about the book. And so that was enough for this mid-sized publisher to say, yes, we think, and they're publishing the follow-up cookbook next year. So it was, and I think I think I had like 1,500 followers on, each platform. So nothing was stunning or anything like that, but it was because of the proposal. And I'm happy to share the proposal with anybody. I'll put my email in the chat. So if you want to see it, to see what a selling proposal with a smallish platform looks like, I'm happy to send it.
Okay, so the two things that Stephanie just described there are, she has studied the established community. and she recruited endorsements from influential people. Okay. So we have to do our research to figure out what is already there. And that's where I think Stephanie really hit it out of the park with the migraine relief plan proposal, that she then could go to a publisher, her agent. Did you get your agent first, Stephanie? If you could just put that in the chat or just unmute.
Yes. So I got my agent on basically on the strength of the proposal, and then she sold it.
Okay, amazing. So because the agent, even though the agent maybe didn't know anything about migraines, she was like, oh, but I have a writer who does, a writer who understands headaches, who understands the community already, the support that is out there, and can see that this is where support is missing. And this is the main thing that we want you to remember when you're looking at comp authors or comp accounts on social media, is you want to look and see what is there, what is being expressed, what kind of support, encouragement, education is being shared now, what is being missed, what is being missed. So we don't want you to emulate comp accounts or comp authors. We want you to say, what would I do better? What are they not doing for their audience I know I could do? And that is the niche that Stephanie filled with her migraine relief plan book, and now the migraine relief plan cookbook that's going to be coming out 2022.
Yeah, July 2022.
So we also have Matt Winkler from Woodhall. Sorry, they're my publisher. I should know the name, from Woodhall Press. Matt, from the publisher's perspective, what are you looking for platform for a nonfiction book, for a fiction book?
Yeah, I'm going to hedge because it's going to depend, on it varies. It just varies title by title. So the nonfiction book, if we think, okay, there's, first of all, just to speak to the writing, the book proposal for nonfiction books, that is really, valuable to us as a publisher. And Jane Friedman has a great section on her website that I always point people to. And I think she even does a course where you can, go through and come up with a book proposal. But there are a bunch of free resources there too. Because the book, the content itself is one thing, but the book proposal is more of like the business MBA attitude toward that content. And you're basically doing a lot of the publisher's homework for the publisher when you provide that initial book proposal up front. And we can really look at it economically and come more rapidly to a decision about whether or not this is going to work in our business plan. So so they're really kind of two different hats you have to wear when you're approaching those. And then for platform, like the migraine, very specific. That's a great example of like we're going to publish a book in 2023 about chronic pain, and there's not a whole lot of people in the world who have chronic pain, but the people who have it are really into it. And so the platform doesn't have to have this huge breadth. It just has to have a very precise and engaged audience. And then we can run some numbers in terms of, okay, how many copies do we need to sell to break even here? If we're doing something, totally on the other end of the spectrum, where it is a mass market, and it's going to compete in like a very active vampire category or something, then we need to know that you're running with the big dogs in terms of penetration on TikTok and everywhere else. So it runs the spectrum in terms of what do we expect in terms of your social media presence.
Yeah. And notice too, that a lot of what Stephanie's saying, a lot of what Matt is saying is it's not, you must build a platform from scratch and recruit all of these people individually. It's, you need to know where the people who are interested in your topic are already hanging out. For fiction, Barbara points out in the chat for her most recent sale, a YA novel in verse. Awesome, Barbara. Really hot category right now. She included in her proposal all of the relevant groups or communities that she's a part of and how she could leverage them to help sell books. So like, if you are a churchgoer, does your church have a book club? If you are a member of an alumni group, does your alumni group have a newsletter that would love to do a profile on you and write about your book? So
Barbara, sorry, Allison, Barbara, are you willing to unmute and just give us a couple examples? Because I think it will help to other people to see, thanks, Barbara, and understand what groups and communities we're already connected to and with that can help in the sale.
Sure. So the novel in verse is about a Nazi camp that operated in New Jersey between 1937 and 1941. Okay. So that part is true. And so I told the publisher that I am a member of the Association of Jewish Libraries. There's speaking opportunities. They have a newsletter. They have blogs that can review it, and they sponsor the Sidney Taylor Awards every year. And I also mentioned there was some, that my alma mater is the Vermont College of Fine Arts, and they have a book launch celebration every month. And so I can be part of that and be part of their event and just reach all the alumni or alumni of that school.
I love that, Barbara. And so this is such a good example of going niche instead of broad. And even like Matt said, the example from Stephanie as well, that when you know exactly pinpointing how you fit into this community and you're fulfilling this need, and these groups will get behind your book. It's better than saying, my book is for everyone in the world, and I'm sure that lots of them are gonna like it, because the agent then doesn't know how to say to the publisher, and the publisher doesn't know how to say to their booksellers, and the booksellers don't know how to go to the bookstores and say, oh, this is for this kind of customer. Because they're just like, this is for people who like to read, and the bookseller is going to go, what the hell shelf does that go on? So whenever we're talking about how do we show the market or how do we show who's going to buy this, the person who owns the bookstore wants to know, what shelf am I putting this on? Is this going to, be taken off the shelf and have people open their wallets for it compared to the other things I have on that shelf? Okay, because that's what they're comparing it to. Am I going to give any space for this book? Because I have the new David Sedaris essays coming out next year. I have this new book about chronic pain written by a celebrity next year. Say Demi Lovato's writing about lupus. Like they want to know where it fits in the market and where it'll fit on that shelf. So thank you for that, Barbara.
Jennifer asks a great question in the chat. Do you have to contact all your groups to confirm that they'll list you in your newsletters or websites before you list them in your marketing and platform section? No, you do not. It can be useful if you can say, these are confirmed. These people will definitely do a story on me. For listing stuff in my proposal that my book sold on, I went through and went, okay, here is my connection with each of these. So I think this bookstore might do an event because it's my hometown bookstore. I think this newsletter might write about me because I am an alumni. And the same thing for blurbs. I categorize them by people who have already committed, people who were probably going to commit, and people who might write a blurb if they had time. And honestly, I don't remember even how many of the people who were in my proposal who I actually contacted for blurbs versus just people who were like, Allison, can I please blurb your book? I would, and I'm like, yay, thank you. And at that point we had enough blurbs and I didn't send out a bunch more emails. So it's okay that your list is aspirational, but do say what your connection is. So not all books sell on platform. Your book can also sell on beautiful writing. Your book can also sell on cultural relevance. Your book can also sell on a compelling story, which is not, unfortunately, the death of your parent, spouse, or child, not your special needs child, not cancer or serious illness, unless you have a new take, because a lot of those books have been written. So they are less likely to sell on that topic as just compelling story. You are more likely to need specific platform if your book is covering a topic that's already been covered. but many of us are also literary writers. And so not all platform is social media. Sometimes it's publishing in literary journals or in mass media. It's taking workshops with writers who will later champion you. And like Barbara did, like Stephanie did, identifying the interest groups of people who really specifically need your book. And not all social media is numbers. Engagement is actually more important than numbers. If you have 50,000 followers, but only 10 of them are actually commenting on your tweets, you have 10 followers. So ideally, you want to be looking for an engagement rate of somewhere between 10 and 20%, which is high for an influencer, but normal for a writer, which means that every time you post something, between 5 and 20% comes in and interacts with you in some way. If you have a high level of engagement, you've got more traction with 1,000 followers than you do with 10,000 followers and low engagement. And it's better to do 1 or 2 platforms that you enjoy than suffer through doing all of them.
And this is why it is really smart to build your email list and to be able to show that email list open statistic for your emails in a proposal or when you are talking to an editor or an agent, because that actually shows the engagement. Anybody can have X number of anything. My numbers of followers are getting larger, like almost influencer-esque like, but the brands that I choose to work with have much more success with me than they do with people who have like 1 million followers on Instagram, because of the connection and the engagement I have with my audience, that if I'm endorsing something, it actually has a much greater return on investment for them than with people with larger audiences. So the engagement is key.
And social media, part of the importance of social media is that it's free. It only costs the labor of the writer to make it happen. Barbara says her contract for her new book stipulates how many posts she needs to do on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram per week or month for the first 6 months. I've never heard of that before. And like, wow, that's insane. But the nice thing about social media is it's free. You can be real, you can be yourself. You don't even have to sell your book the vast majority of the time. It's more about talking to the people who share your interests, giving information. The other nice thing about social media is it's a little bit more intimate than like an ad in a magazine. People are opening up and spending time with you, sometimes with their phone held like this in the morning before they put their contacts in. But let's take a look too at what does not social media platform look like. So some of you may have read the memoir Sick by Purokishta Kakpour, which was about her struggle with chronic Lyme disease and eventually trying to, find something that cured her. And her bio is she had a debut novel, Suns and Other Flammable Objects, that was a New York Times editor's choice, one of the Chicago Tribune's Fall's Best, and the 2007 California Book Award in the first fiction category. So it's got some credentials. Ashley, how many copies did Suns and Other Flammable Objects actually sell?
Okay, so when it was in hardcover, or the hardcover edition has sold 985 copies in the US. And the paperback sold 1,969 copies in the US. So when we're looking at those numbers, here we have it's almost 3,000 print copies in the US. We can probably double that to say okay, ebooks that were sold or international sales. So we're talking maybe 6,000 copies of this book. So that's not a huge number, but because it's literary fiction and she did get these other accolades, it is a good, I wouldn't say great, I wouldn't say fantastic. It is a good debut.
Yeah. Her second novel was called The Last Illusion. It was a 2014 Best Book of the Year on NPR, Kirkus, BuzzFeed, Pop Matters, Electric Literature, and many more. Ashley, how many copies did The Last Illusion sell?
800 in hardcover and 800 in paperback. So here we have a book that's maybe even getting a little bit more buzz. More buzz, I would say, maybe not the prestige of the first book, And if we're talking about 1,600 print copies sold in the US, then we can probably say like about 3,200 or 3,000 copies sold in all formats internationally. And then that led to her book deal for Sick, but Sick only came out as a paperback. It seems like she was not allowed or not able to secure a hardcover deal for that.
Probably because the sales numbers on the first two books, the books were well received, but she switched gears, wrote a memoir, and it turned out to be the memoir that hit really big because the memoir had a specific population interested in her topic beyond people who read literary fiction, which is a surprisingly small number.
Yeah, and she was able to move up in the status and the size of her publishers for each one of these books as well. So Sick, I think, came out from HarperCollins. I don't have it right here, but I was looking at it earlier today, and that sold 8,000 just in paperback in the US. So then we're looking at something that's more like, 5 figures, multiple 5 figures for different formats internationally. And that's definitely the one she's the most well known for.
And through this whole time, she was also building platform in non-social media ways. She got a National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship. That's a really tough application. You have to spend some time filling out that paperwork. Her nonfiction has appeared in the New York Times, the LA Times, Elle, Slate, Salon, and Book Forum, among many others. So she is actively publishing and sharing her work with the world as she goes. Plus, she's a guest faculty member at Vermont Center for the Fine Arts, Barbara's alumni, and Stone Coast's MFA program. And she's a contributing editor at the Evergreen Review, which is a literary magazine. So she is connected to people who can champion her book, to people who can say to their people, you're going to like this author's writing. She's really good. I think you should buy her book. And that kind of personal evangelizing is far more valuable than social media. And so part of what you want to do is, yes, take advantage of the intimacy and the not costing anything of social media, but also sustain your connection with people who will tell their friends how great your book is.
And that could be friends, like your MFA professor could become your friend who then recommends their agent to you. Or it could be like I did. I made my 425 beta readers my friends. And then when my book was coming out, they felt like they had a book coming out too. And those were a bulk of my pre-orders. They bought copies for friends. They're my evangelists. Even now, 7 months after my book released, they're still talking about it all the time. So making those, this is why we call it the writer's bridge, right? It's the connections that we're making and the horizontal loyalty that we're building. So those people beside you, those people who are going to have your back and you're going to have theirs, they can take a lot of different forms, like Barbara, was it Barbara who was saying about the libraries, the organizations she's a part of, Stephanie reaching out to the food bloggers, and then with Porquista talking about, with all of her literary work, the connections she's making in that community.
Ashley, I love that term, horizontal loyalty. And I feel like that's kind of what we have here at the Writer's Bridge, where we can all help each other out. So Ashley, we have a wonderful volunteer, Eileen Campbell-Reed, who has volunteered for platform review and sent us all her links. Do you want to share your screen and we'll navigate through, or do you want me to share my screen?
I would love to share my screen.
Awesome. And so we'll take a look at Eileen's stuff, and then we're going to give you the rundown on what are the simple, easy things that you can do right now to show your platform positively to agents, to publishers, to your readers.
Okay, so I went to Eileen's website and lovely, smart. As soon as I came in, we had a pop-up. Okay. People sort of hate pop-ups, but they work. They work. The only thing I would say about Eileen's here is if we could have a delay of a few seconds before it came up, that is my preference. I have mine set at 10-second delays.
You can also on some websites set your pop-up to come up as the person's cursor navigates towards the address bar to navigate away. It's called an exit pop-up. And I often really like those because it means I've gotten the information I want and you're now asking me, would you like more information? So looking at Eileen's website, I get that she is a minister. And I get that she is well connected in the ministry community. She's got something going on called 3-Minute Ministry Mentor. She's got places for her writing, her work. I don't know whether membership means membership in her church or membership in something in particular. And it looks like this might be some sort of like membership community, but I don't know what it is. And I would say if you're going to have a membership thing, put that on a link that your members can go to the link rather than using space on your homepage for it, because there's better ways to create interest in your membership. The other thing is there is a lot going on these changing pictures. Ashley, what are you getting?
That I would have to sit and really watch for what the things are. I would have to maybe pause them and try to take in really what Eileen is offering here.
Yeah. And it looks like she's got, I think this is a blog where she's got different articles that she's writing, which is great because it looks like these are things that engage with her community. I think the main thing right now is I don't really know that she's a writer. We've got the book cover popping up on the right-hand side, but it's not like a main feature of the website. And it's entirely possible that what Eileen wants to be marketing here is herself as a powerful force in her ministry community. Hey, Eileen, do you want this website to show you as a writer, or do you need it to show you as a minister first and then also a writer? Feel free to unmute and chime on in.
It is a beautiful website. I love how the graphics here really give us an idea of what each piece is going to be about. And the topics would make me want to click on a lot of them as well.
Yeah. Eileen, what are you selling?
Yeah, so it's a both and, because I'm an academic, a minister, and a writer. And so the website does feature all those different elements of who I am. And but I hear what you're saying in terms of writing. It's not as prominent as it could be. All those screens that are going by, we usually try to keep those to 10. I'm realizing we could have reduced those. That State of Clergy Women report, I'm the only person who's done one of those in more than 20 years, about 20 years. So that's one of the big draws to my site. It has to be at the top. But the other things are all weekly episodes. So you can click on any one of them and it's going to take you directly to that episode. So it's interesting to think about whether people would actually sit and look at things go by or just find the one they want and go to it. I mean, that's why I'm asking. We think people go to what they want.
Is this how we navigate through them like this?
Yeah, that's over there too.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. I didn't see that because I was looking for an arrow. I was looking for an arrow to go back and forth, like something horizontal. Okay, and so episodes. Tell me more about the episodes here, because
So
I
if
guess
you
I guess
like,
I missed that it said episode when it was going by. What are these
most of
episodes
them
of?
are the episodes of this, most recent. We put one out every week on Monday, and so the people who receive my email go straight from the email to the episode, but then people who just stumble upon my website or come there from social media can find what they want. The most recent things are in that circular up there at the top, or that
Okay, and are
Is
your
the-
episodes a podcast or
Is it
They're,
a
they're
video
a
or-
blog. There's a blog. Most weeks there's also a video and a podcast. It's
Okay.
not every single week has all three features, but that's why we continue to call them episodes, because every Monday we put out something and people can engage it in various ways.
Awesome. Well, I think your website is definitely serving what you're doing. I think you should replace one of those big pictures at the top with the information about your book, because I think that's the part of you that is getting a little bit short shrift. And
Oh, interesting.
academics are
It's,
going to know
it has
more.
been there. So you're reminding me that we've let it slip away from the top. Okay.
It's easy to let things slip away as you add more things. It's easy. Like I haven't put shared a review and a link to buy my book in my newsletter for a really long time. I've been, I've had other things at the bottom, but it's easy. It is easy to let things slip away.
Ashley, anything else you want to look at here before we click over to Eileen's Facebook or
you know
Twitter?
what? All I would want is like, I would love like, what is 3-Minute Ministry? I would love like, just somewhere here for me to get like a really click, oh, that's what that is. And then even see how that would apply to me, even though I'm not, I'm not in a pastoral role.
That's helpful. And down on the right-hand side, there is a place that says welcome and join us. It's a little rotating thing. Just if you just page down a tiny bit past my book there on the right, the next thing that says welcome, that is always there.
Bigger font. I'm old. My eyes are tired. We need the welcome to be in like.
Oh, I've asked my web guy to make it bigger. So many, we've increased it, but I'll keep giving him that feedback.
Yeah. So you know what I would love? I would love here, because I see here that says join 3-Minute Ministry mentor. I would just love 3 MMM is this, like just one.
Yep. Helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Nice job there. Really nice website. So let's click over to one of Eileen's social media profiles. Yay, it's our lesson plan.
Can we go to Instagram?
Yeah, let's go to Instagram. Awesome. So I noticed that Eileen is doing stuff with Advent, and that's something that you might even mention that on your website, because Advent really lends itself to day-by-day stuff. If you are not writing religion and you don't have like a long-term day-by-day ritual thing, you can invent your own long-term day-by-day ritual, like 30 days of reading great books, 30 days of trying new recipes and seeing what they do for my migraines, 30 days of writing a verse about my past experiences. And that would all be stuff that you would be able to have an ongoing thing that keeps people coming back. One of the biggest sets of Instagram posts I ever had, and it just kind of happened spontaneously, was a 6-part series on how I met my husband. And I'm like, I never thought that people would be as into it as they were, but they really liked the recurringness of it. People like repetition. It's comforting.
And whenever somebody comes into a series, when they know it's part X of Y, they can then binge the rest of it, because we've really been trained. We've evolved very quickly to want to binge any content. I think this is one of the reasons that my videos have done well, because I always make them part of a series. And I made How to Keep Monogamy Hot Part 1, not knowing what Part 2 would be, just to make myself make another, a Part 2. So that is a really good idea. So here we go. We have the Advent right there, right?
Yeah, be present in the moment, deep peace. And this is nice too, these white posts with the headline and the smaller picture. That might even be something that you could use in a recurring way throughout your Instagram feed, because it does two things. It creates uniformity, and it is restful for the eye between busier pictures because there's more white space. And so that might even be something where you can go, white picture, regular picture, white picture, regular picture. And it helps balance the words and images.
Yeah, this is beautiful. And then it allows people to come and click through the other parts of the Advent piece. So let me see when we click here, because I do want to read more of that. So I'm going to go here to your link tree. And then, okay, there we are, right? Wait, do these have numbers on them? How do I know?
So actually, when y'all did the thing about repurposing, it helped solidify for me. We're sharing Advent posts that are 10, 8, 7 years old. I'm repurposing material from my website. And so they're just called Advent and a title because there's no way to renumber them, but they're Advent and a title, and they all have, I had to improve the SEO on all of them at my website to make them go better when we reshare them.
So tell us, SEO is search engine optimization. Would
Mhm.
you tell us, like we're 5 years old, what did you do that improved the SEO of those posts?
The simplest way to say what I did was I made sure they came from multiple older versions of the website. So now WordPress has a feature image that's very important. You need a feature image with every post. And I always had images, they just weren't called a featured image. Now that I did this, I created that picture you're seeing now I pulled the same ladder picture, added a little quote from me and a headline. So then when I share just the web address anywhere, this in social media pops up as this beautiful image. And it makes people more likely to say, oh, that's interesting. I want to go see about that.
And I
The
would
image is the
also,
big thing, and then there's also like you have to add some headlines and do some things to your writing so that Google and all the search engines believe it's legitimate writing. If you don't do those things, they downgrade you in the search engines.
and some of that too can also be making sure that the kind of phrases people would search for are in your content. So, for example, if I was writing Advent devotions, I might want to put Advent devotions and the name of the Bible verse that I'm talking about that day, so that people who are Google searching for Advent devotions, this Bible verse, would be able to come to me as one of the options that Google would pop up for them. So simply put, SEO is make it pretty, make it quality, and make it something that people are already looking for. And that's the easiest way to explain SEO. Ashley, what else do you want to add here?
I want to
By the
add
way,
something about SEO. Sorry, Eileen, is that SEO is sort of replacing hashtags on Instagram. So when you are writing a caption, or even when you're just putting the title and a short description of a video that you are posting on Instagram, think about what words people may be looking for, like tips for parenting during the holidays, gift ideas for kids, under 4, strategies for having a stress-free holiday in this video, like those really easy, like almost like the headline type things that then you would click on Google.
we did a whole series starting during the pandemic called How to Survive, and then it had an ending, and they were sometimes my posts and sometimes guest posts. But How to Survive dot 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 got us a lot of good SEO. I mean, it put people finding us who would normally have not have found us at all.
That's, yeah. And so she's looking for, her platform is, this is what my audience is looking for. Here is how I can serve them content that is powerful for me, because she's writing stuff that is beautiful and that she believes in, but is also specifically going to the people who need what she has to offer. And that helps Eileen continue to build her list of people who will literally evangelize for her writing. And Brooke also points out in the chat that having your alt text and your descriptions of your images is also really important for SEO, because a lot of times the search engines are looking for the keywords that are describing your photograph as well, or whatever artwork you have up there. Ashley, anything else you want to add on here before we do some quick breakout rooms?
Question here from Martina in the chat. Any suggestions for after the book is launched to keep interest going, or is it all the same? It's all the same. It's all the same. Like 10 gives for every ask. Books do not have a shelf life, pardon the pun. They really don't. I mean, I have never picked up a book and gone, oh, this seems so interesting, and then opened it and go, oh, it was published 10 years ago, never mind. No, like people don't care when your book was published except you. So finding ways to tie it into the news or tie it into things that people are going through, the more that you study your comp accounts and figure out what they aren't doing, and the more that you know your audience, no matter how big or small that it is, you're going to know, oh, this is the angle that I need to talk about to remind them of my book this week.
Schedule tweets on your subject or your genre. It can be really fun to just sit down, take an afternoon, use the tweet scheduling function, and lay down one tweet a day of, I read this cool article, here's a quote from it. Here is something interesting on my topic. Here is a funny joke that I heard the other day, because then you have sort of an ongoing social presence that you're not necessarily having to be right on top of every day. It can be really useful to write service pieces. You know, it addresses a specific issue that your population has, or to write book reviews. Connecting with readers beyond writers. And a lot of that really is about service. We are going to share our absolute top tips with you before we go. And our next meeting is going to be December 21st. It is the Ask Us Anything holiday party. Bring your questions for anything that you want to ask about as far as selling your book or finishing it or starting it in 2022. And party attire is encouraged. Feel free to wear something festive. Hopefully our email will go out with the correct link next time, which brings me to my top tip. You may have noticed this is probably the smallest writer's bridge we have ever had. We typically have right around 100 people, and today we peaked at 34. And the message here is, it really matters that our reminder email goes out, because even the people who are dedicated and show up every single time need that extra reminder. When you let your mailing list know, when you let your social media know, hey, I'm doing this thing, it's cool. Hey, my book is coming out, please buy it. You are not bugging or nagging them. You are gently reminding them of a thing they want to know about, because we are going to go to an inbox full of emails about where the heck was my link and why didn't I get to join. And Tanya looks like she has a thing she wants to add to that.
Yes, I started second guessing whether I was remembering, because I've grown to count on that email. It's like, no, I would have received something, but it's on my calendar. So I went to the building platforms to make sure, like, am I misremembering something? And Ashley had posted like, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So you're not nagging people. You're not bothering people. You're not bragging. You're not making a nuisance of yourself. The people who are not interested will scroll by. The people who are interested need a reminder. Ashley, what's your top tip?
Well, I'm not going to share the top tip that I was going to share. I'm going to piggyback on that, Allison. Listen, we have been here every other Tuesday for like 60 some weeks. Okay. And you cannot assume that people already know what you are doing and how to find you and what the link to your book is already, or what the link to your newsletter is, or what the hell you talk about in your newsletter. You can remind liberally. Just do it. Just get your words out there over and over.
Yeah. So remember always, not all platform is social media. Not all social media is numbers. Not all books are based on platform, but it can be incredibly valuable to know who specifically is your book speaking to and how are you going to reach them. Also, at the Ask Us Anything holiday party, we are going to have a little gift for you guys, because we are starting a new thing that will be in addition to our bi-weekly meetings. We know a lot of people walk out of these meetings exhilarated but overwhelmed. And we are putting together a way that will have all of the exhilaration and none of the overwhelm. So stick around and see what's happening with that at our next meeting. Thank you all so much for being here today, and feel free to unmute yourselves for a happy goodbye. We're so glad you're here.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Great.
See you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye, Melanie.
Au revoir.